So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name's Phoebe. I'm a principal product manager here at Tesorio, and joined by TJ, who's our lead solutions consultant. So together we've got close to 20 years, hate to say that, working with finance professionals. But for those of you who aren't familiar with Tesorio, we're a venture-backed SaaS company founded about 10 years ago with the goal of helping companies both aggregate and organize all their financial data so the cash flow becomes predictable and repeatable. So today, we will walk through over the next 30 minutes the challenges that teams are facing in the AR process, and also how AI and data connectivity can really help solve those issues. We'll do a quick demo highlighting the benefits of automation for collections, and also wrap with a overview of how some of our customers have really benefited from implementing Tesorio. And if all goes according to plan, we'll have time for Q&A at the end as well. But to keep this engaging, before we kick it off, we're gonna launch a quick poll just to get a sense of where you all stand with your current AR processes and where automation kind of sits within that. So you should see that live now if you want to just quickly answer those two questions. Great, seeing some answers flow in. So it sounds like we're all agreed automation is pretty important in the accounts receivable process, and maybe middling in terms of how satisfied we are with automation as it's currently implemented. So I think everyone is in the right place to learn more about this today. All right, so working with hundreds of customers over the past many years, we've consistently seen 4 common challenges in collections. First, it's really time consuming. Chasing invoices, logging manual work, it's never an efficient use of anyone's time. And then lately we're hearing that time spent is only increasing because your customers are adopting AP portals, and that starts to disrupt any of the processes that your team has been able to put into place. Second, collections is error prone. As you can expect, any manual task comes with the risk of data errors. And at best, that means that important updates are entered slowly or inconsistently. But at worst, it means data is entered incorrectly or not at all, which means that the downstream collections process doesn't even start or kicks off on the wrong foot because you are submitting an incorrect invoice. And again, with AP portals, that gap in process really matters, because if you never submit the invoice, then you haven't started your collections process and you're not going to get paid. Third, collections processes as they exist today tend to be pretty rigid, and that prevents you from delivering that personalized customer experience that drives both strong collections, but also our real goal, right? Strong long-term relationships with your customers so they continue to be your customers. And then last but not least, ERPs are insufficient for the task. We all use ERPs. They're a great system for recording and reporting financials, but they fall short. They really weren't built for supporting the collections process. And that leaves teams looking for other solutions. So why now? Why are we here? How can we solve this problem? More than ever, especially with the recent technology advancements, we're well positioned to address these challenges because first, cloud infrastructure is trusted with financial data. We see less cases where companies need to build something bespoke, homegrown, because they don't trust the cloud with this data. Second, APIs for financial operations have become commonplace. So it's a lot easier and frankly just possible to now bring data that lives in disparate systems. Think your ERP, your CRM, some spreadsheets that you track, any of those other systems where the finance team is operating to get that full picture of a customer. It's easy now with APIs to bring that all together into a single platform. And with AI, we can start to extract information, and not just information, but the context associated with that data from any unstructured primary source that allows you to start carrying out that collections process in a holistic manner. So technology has really changed over the last 10, 15, 5, 2 years, and makes it a lot easier now to start tackling these problems. So it's always better to show rather than tell, right? So I'm going to hand this over to TJ to walk through a live demo of our automation solution. But before we dive into that, we're going to launch two more poll questions just to gauge your thoughts on the potential impact of AI and data connectivity in your finance organization. And you should see those polls live now as well. While I'm doing that, I will stop my share so TJ can get set up.
Sounds good. Give it another few seconds for the poll to finish out and a couple answers, and then we'll get rolling. Righty. All right. We will get going here. I'm assuming everybody can see the screen. Phoebe, you can just give me a thumbs up, make sure everything's all right.
Yep,
okay.
looks good.
Perfect. Normal demo for you all, roughly 45 minutes, maybe stretching into 60 with some Q&A. I'm going to do that in about 15 to 18 minutes today. It's going to be fast and furious. I'm going to hit a couple of the highlights. Certainly, if you have any questions, that's why I'm going to go fast partially, is to make sure that there's time at the end. But if you want to dive a little bit deeper, we'll have some information at the end to reach out. What typically happens? What do we see in a customer journey? I'm on virtually every prospect call, and it amazes me how much in the spreadsheet world we still live. Now, I know spreadsheets are a staple of finance. We talked to a few people that have a current solution they're looking to switch, or even they've, as Phoebe mentioned, they've tried to start building out something in an ERP. It takes time, takes effort, takes money. And so having a plug and play solution enables you to do a number of things. One, just get out of the manual work. And so we really see a journey in steps. One, get out of the manual spreadsheets, automate a number of kind of table stakes things, sending statements, sending the invoice before or after the due date, reminders, etc. So what really happens in that second stage is, okay, now that we're not being so reactive, we have time to be proactive. And that's really where, as Phoebe mentioned, the portal piece became a much bigger component of the AR world in the last 9 to 12 months, which is why we built in, with some of the newer technology, built in some of those updates. So one, dashboards is really the capability to just high level keep an eye on everything. You can basically set up a dashboard to monitor everything. You can also have a dashboard that gets directly into one specific set of details. So when we talk about something like portals, and obviously, maybe this is a mix of the 80-20 rule. Only 20% of our customers have portals, but man, it takes us a lot of time to log in, get updates, look at the emails, etc. And that's really where we've started to aggregate that to make a collections team faster, more nimble, and just get that data in their hands without having to do all that manual effort. So I don't knock something off my desk, I'm going to be a winner today. So with that, there's a number of things that we can do to summarize what's going on. The AP portal status, we're updating notes automatically, we're adding tasks automatically. So there's a lot of different things that we can do there to get that in front of a team and then use that in the automation that we have behind the scenes to influence different tasks, to influence different workflows that the AR team knows they have to do. And it's really easy to be able to just go straight to that source, that email, and see what's going on when you can just hover over it. So like I said, really the main piece around a dashboard is just keeping an eye on that high level information. What do you do when you have the time to research? Maybe you have an idea of your customers that are, maybe not the greatest at paying you on time, but this really adds to that light when we look at that history and we give these scores to those customers. It's good to know what we have outstanding that's tied to those customers. And this doesn't mean that this is late. This could be an invoice that's a day old. But what it does is it gives you an idea of how much of your AR is tied to those customers. And so other things that we're seeing happen is creating these alerts. Okay, it's not a ton right now, but we've got 67K of invoices tied to those customers that are poor or risky. They have a brand new invoice. Let's get in front of that. This is what I mean by take that data and what Phoebe talked about, consolidating and trusting that data, bring it all together, and then create that action on top of it. This is what you want your team spending time on. Same thing. Good customer, great customer, normally pay you on time. we got 25 invoices for over half a million, or yeah, for over half a million that are late. That's unusual. Okay, that's what I want to focus on first. These alerts can be broken down a myriad of different ways. We're looking at data from Salesforce, we're looking at data from the financial system, we're bringing that together to create this. Same thing if you look at like forecasting, what are we doing? What do we have to really get this week? We got 4 invoices over 50K. That's going to influence your forecast. $5,000 invoice, not so much. These ones, we better make sure we get these because that will swing our forecast one way or another. So a lot of different ways to set this up. I mean, we can really get granular. If you have a team, we can break out what the team's workflow looks like. We can even get to these different touch points. We want to see who's added a note. We want to see what invoices haven't had a note. So, okay, arguably current, maybe 1 to 30 doesn't need a note in the last 7 days. Anything that's 30 days or older might need a note every week just to update what's going on. That's the kind of granular level that we can get to and just call that to attention and go, okay, wow, we better jump into these invoices and figure out what's going on. Just at a high level, this is kind of your super spreadsheet. So when we talk about mirroring data, and I don't know who was in my demo environment and messing up all my stuff, because that's not what I normally go to. There we go. That's much better. Typically, when I log in, this is what I see. So shared demo environment, gotta love it. Anyways, point is, this is your super spreadsheet. We've got financial data, we've got CRM data, we've also got email data. So we're bringing that all together. What you're seeing is basically, okay, why is Walmart 485 days late? We'll talk about the tags in a minute, but we can see that, okay, somebody updated this note, and this falls into what I showed on the dashboard. Probably if they're 485 days late, we probably should know something more than once every couple of weeks. But we can dive into the details. In this case, they're not a portal provider. We're not dealing with a portal with Walmart. I can go look at the notes, the emails, all of this is aggregated. Makes it really easy to get an update. Some of the newer things we're also doing with newer AI is using that data and summarizing what's happening. So as I click through these different invoices, I get a very quick snapshot of what's happening and helps me influence kind of what goes on with that next step. Contacts, we hear it all the time. Invoice level versus customer level, or what about the account manager coming out of Salesforce? We're aggregating all that. That's what you're seeing here. There's invoice level contacts, company level contacts, Salesforce contacts, all of that stuff being brought together because all of this is what influences some of that automation. And so really, we're diving into the details. Other things that we're doing to help speed up a workflow. Oh man, okay, I'm really worried about my forecast, or I just need to figure out these larger invoices. So, show me all invoices over, I don't know what, 32,000 and more than, I don't know, 41 days late. I could go in, I could find these filters. It's like I said, it's like a spreadsheet. I could go in, reorganize columns, find filters. But again, using some of the newer technology and AI, I can do this. I can get that set of invoices. Holy cow, we've got 1.2 million in open invoices, 14 invoices, 14 customers that are meeting that criteria. Okay, now what do I do? This is again, you find that information, you find that data. This is where we can speed up the process. I can send an email to every one of those in a couple of clicks. So without having to copy and paste a template and then go in and make sure I attach the right invoice and all the painful stuff, I'm not going to go to the depths of this, but you all that have a manual process, you understand this. Even semi-manual, semi-automated with the ERP, I hear horror stories of how we have to get this list, put it in an Excel sheet, load it back into the ERP, get something kicked off, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, couple of clicks, I can go in here, I can send an individual email to all of those customers with just a couple of clicks. So it, again, speeds up that workflow, lets me be very targeted with what I'm saying, what I'm doing. But if this criteria meets something that I want to really add another layer of automation on top of, that's where I can go in and I can convert this to a campaign. So, this really is kind of that start of what I mentioned before. When you get past the basics, now what do we do? Let's spend a little more time analyzing. Let's figure out how we can really fine tune this machine. That's where the campaigns come in. So if I go into campaigns, this is really that pure automation that we're doing. And there's a lot of our customers that are reaching out and not necessarily saying, hey, you have an invoice that's due. Yes, but more importantly, what are the problems we typically face? How many times have you all call the customer that's 30, 40 days late, first response, that's not my invoice. That would have been great to know a couple months ago. That's why you see things like this coming out before the due date. Are you the right people? If not, we'll pull you off of this email. If you know who owns this invoice, let us know. So really doing that validation. We've seen similar things with POs and validating the PO, et cetera. And then on top of that, this isn't just customer communication. 7 days after the due date, we're again looking at those contacts in Salesforce, automatically looping in account managers, sales reps, depends on your process and how closely you work with, the account teams. But we can do that automatically. We can take this, alert them. I've even seen customers set up like a once a week email. Hey, sales rep Phoebe. I know Phoebe loves sales. I have to use her. Sales rep Phoebe, here's all your accounts that have an invoice over X amount or is more than X days old, et cetera, et cetera. We can aggregate that email, be once a week targeted to the account team. And I say this in so many demos. I can't tell you how many times people say that is so helpful. One of those customers happens to have a renewal coming up. So when you have that conversation, what's the first thing people do in a renewal? They ask for a discount. Giving your account team that information, it is so easy to have that conversation, to be able to say, I'd love to talk about it, but my finance team let me know about this situation. So there's so many things that we can do beyond just the customer communication, your internal processes, internal communication. This is again where we're automating tasks. We can add or change assignees. So there's different things we can do to really personalize these. I mean, I've even seen customers go above and beyond and create like a CFO campaign where the emails come out from an address that looks like the CFO, and it has their signature, and it's very, very clean. It's amazing how quickly those get responded to. Basically, all of this is what helps get to that stage of really being proactive and not just being very reactive. I think I've hit on all the highlights. We've got roughly 10 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken. Phoebe, is that correct? A little bit?
Yep.
Can certainly dive into some of the details. I think, overall, when we look at all of this, what we're really doing is bubbling that up, starting with the AR forecast. And I'm not going to go through all the details, but we're using that data to help formulate a forecast. This piece then becomes really the crux and the key of the cash flow forecast, where we're going in and we're not just looking at the AR data, we're also pulling AP data. We're then connecting directly to the banks to bring in transaction level details and transaction level data. All of that, imagine if you have 10 different bank accounts, you have to log into them and download this. Going back to that spreadsheets, having that done automatically, being able to spot anomalies, being able to keep track of a 13-week forecast, all of this is brought together because of the first components. Certainly, the AR side, there's different things we do there, but just being able to bring together ERP and bank level transaction data, extremely helpful to not have to create this on a spreadsheet, have to go into your banks every day or every week. Makes it much more real time, makes it much cleaner, and again, gives the time to do more digging and not just compiling. So I will go ahead and end there. Stop. We can go with questions and finish out the webinar and give you all maybe a few minutes back.
Right, thanks, TJ. So I will just close this off again, just to recap for everyone, sort of what we saw there. Hopefully a lot of the benefits of AR shine through here, but automation really adds efficiency to this AR process at every point, right? It makes sure it makes it easier for your team to collaborate. So TJ mentioned you've got your collections team following one process. You may have your sales team, your customer support team trying to facilitate and help, but it's not all happening in a single system. AR automation can really add that efficiency while driving personalization. So a lot of times when you talk to people, that first step of automation is a little bit brute force, right? I'm going to send the same message to every single customer. And that is a start, but it doesn't start to build that long-term relationship. And so when you can really personalize at scale, that's where you start to see the benefits. You saw it really reduces errors because we can eliminate all of those manual tasks. And then AI coming in, driving accuracy and predictability at each stage of that flow. Not only does it ensure that each of your sort of point interactions with customers are accurate, but it helps build up that overall forecast, really driving predictability to that cash flow. So the benefits of automation are real. And that's before we even talk about, just the quality of life improvements that come with automating away a lot of these manual tasks. Lots of strategic opportunities in finance, and we would like to, open that up so that teams can really pursue those versus these manual tactical finance tasks. But don't just take our word for it, right? Hundreds of customers have benefited from Tesorio's AR automation. For example, Viva saw 75% reduction in bad debt and 50% reduction in their 90-day aging bucket, and that's while doubling team productivity. Similarly, Couchbase doubled their collections per collector and reduced DSO by 10 days. So a lot of benefits from taking a system like this, connecting all of your data systems, and then starting to rely on AI to really get that next level of productivity. So with that, we will open for questions.
Yeah, there's been a couple in the chat. Absolutely, we can send the recording. I believe that'll come out in an automated email. So no worries there. As far as how to identify customers as a portal customer, there's a couple of different ways. We do have to note that on the customer record so that we know, partially how to tie those emails automatically back. Tagging can be one of those ways. Phoebe, if I'm missing anything, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, the two primary ways for portals are both the emails that you receive. So, take Coupa or Ariba, those come from pretty standard email addresses that our technology is parsing to understand, this the sender corresponds with a particular customer in your ERP customer list. We can also do this with the credentials that you have for your Coupa or Ariba logins, for example. So when you log in for that first time, we're able to review all of the interactions and invoices that you've logged with those customers over the years and match those to your customers. So really kind of on day one, then you start to see, 5% of my customer base is Coupa or 10% of my customer base is Coupa.
Let's see here. Another one coming in. Portal maintenance. Yeah, I can take a swing at it, Phoebe, if you want to go.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Long story short, this is part of the reason if I'm reading the question correctly, this is part of the reason why we decided not to actually create a direct connection. Seems like every portal has a different way of an architecture and a way of connecting. So certain portals, it was actually technically impossible to have like one connection to where you could see a broad swipe of all the customers. It would have had to have been a one-to-one connection to, dozens, hundreds, however many portals. So with that, and we've done an extensive amount of research. There are several of those that are customers actually of ours. So we've had some very deep talks with them. Point is, we decided to go the LLM road, use some of the newer AI with LLMs to actually just read the emails because we were able to get the data we needed to get through those emails. We don't have to create that direct connection. So yes, you still have to log in, upload the invoice, but what we're doing is automating all the other components to say, hey, it's time to do that. Or, hey, there was a status change because we saw that. So that's, unless I'm missing something, Phoebe, and please, as always, correct me. Phoebe helped build
this. So that is definitely that's the starting point, but then it's always an iteration, right? So where we started was identification that a task has to happen, right? Reading an email, seeing that update in the portal, and flagging that task for someone on your team. Where we're going next, and what's kind of being tested at the moment, is the ability to do that submission. Now, TJ's correct. Long tail of portals, they all have, I talked about it at the very beginning, they all have very rigid requirements. So it's not a one size fits all solution, but AI really helps us tackle and identify those specific requirements portal by portal. And so submission is coming.
Cool. And then, yeah, we will.
And yes, yeah, go ahead.
No worries. We will definitely have other webinars. Believe that this recording will be sent out afterwards to everybody that's joined. So no worries on that last question that came through around the technical difficulties. Happens all the time with webinars.
And happy to connect directly as well, for any, personalized demos or unique use cases. Any other questions? Hopefully a little bit of inspiration about how to infuse AR with AI powered automation.
Definitely. Cool. Yeah, we'll hang out for
All
another minute
right.
or so. But yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. Feel free to email. Nope. One last one here. Emails to sales. We can absolutely pull that from NetSuite. It's, either going to be the ERP or the CRM. We typically, if NetSuite's up to date, great. We'll grab that from the NetSuite side. Does not matter to us. So,
And yes, you have control. There's a number of in terms of how we sync contacts is essentially what all of these would be called in the Tesorio system. Because you have kind of complete flexibility in terms of how you tag those contacts, whether they're coming from NetSuite, from, let's say, Tesorio itself, from the CRM. Every email that you send, you have the ability to say, not only do I want to send it to generically a contact on this customer or invoice, but I want to send it to the contact with this specific tag. So in your case, you would just say, I want to send it to the Tesorio created sales contact.
Yep. Or other examples I've seen, if there's a sales manager, sales director, you're basically building into those email templates in the steps of the automation. Those email templates have who you want to send it to. So one step could be the sales director, next step could be the sales manager. There's a lot of flexibility in how you define not only what is said and when it's said, but who you're sending it to.
Yeah, definitely a sort of a pre-built escalation flow.
Yep, correct. Cool. Any other questions? We'll hang out for another 30 seconds or so, but yeah, you all have a nice day. We are going to close this out pretty quickly.